What's up, everybody? It's Erin.
And Nicole, this is Dude That's Fucked Up.
A podcast.
What a pod.
Hello, friends. How are you doing?
Oh my goodness.
I hope you're well. Woo! What a week.
Every week is what a week.
What, you know?
But you know what? I listened earlier, like as I was doing some notes to Trixie and Katya's podcast. Oh, they are just so funny together. And Monet Exchange was on it.
Ugh, Monet.
And it was just, yeah, I was laughing so hard. I had to pause it.
Oh my God, that's great. That's good.
And then I was laughing just so hard. And Pete was like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "They're talking about fucking hard turds, okay? I can't."
Oh my God, if ever there was a topic I could relate to at this point in time in my life. God.
Oh my God.
Uh,
Yeah. So highly recommend if anyone's having a week.
Just get your laugh on. Get your giggle.
Yeah.
Get your giggle.
Yep.
Well, I think we'll giggle a little bit through this episode. Maybe not as much as usual. It's a little bit of a heavy topic, but
it's heavy. There's some fuckery.
It's truly fucked up.
Truly.
Not the oh, that's fucked up. It's like, oh, that
yeah, it's not like, oh my God, listen to this fried fast food item. It's like, oh, this place has a bad history.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
But yeah, we'll get to that in a second. I don't have any biz.
Nope, me either.
Anything fucked up for you?
Oh my God. You know, I did that sleep study.
Yeah.
And the next day, Pete's like, "Wow, you didn't snore at all last night. Like, maybe you don't have any issues." And I was like, "Yeah, I didn't think so." And then I had a call. I had a telehealth call with my doctor yesterday. She's like, "So you have a moderate sleep apnea."
Moderate sleep apnea?
Yeah, she was like, "This at-home sleep study was so cool. It could tell me based on which side I was sleeping on, my back."
If it was worse or better on
how many times I stopped breathing. Yeah. And
oh my God.
My back was 15 times an hour I stopped breathing.
Oh my God.
I'd hold my breath. And so that's moderate. That's pretty bad.
That's why he thought you weren't snoring, because you weren't actually
I just wasn't breathing.
Yeah.
I know. And then on my left side only once, which is that's not even anything. And then on my right side maybe 5 or something. My sides are way better. And she was like, "Oh my gosh, at one point your record for how long you held your breath, 28 seconds."
I don't think I could do that awake.
Awake. I know. I was like, "How? What? That's so wild that I'm not waking up gasping for air."
Oh my God. That's scary.
It's scary, but also she's like, she was like, "I was diagnosed, 5 years ago, whatever." She's like, "I thought I was tired all the time because I have 4 kids," and I am, but also I was, it was I wasn't sleeping right. So we're going to do some stuff to help me with my sleeping, and hopefully I won't be so tired all the time, and that's cool. But I didn't want to have it, but at least I don't have to get that big ass machine yet.
Like a CPAP or whatever it's called. Yeah. Yet. Well, this is the thing. If you can figure this shit out early on.
Yeah.
And try to do some preventative stuff now.
Yeah.
You might not have to later on in life. So.
Well, dude, she's like, yeah, so many health issues could be triggered or made worse by your sleep not being good. And so she was like, it has been linked to breast cancer and heart attacks and strokes and just all this bad awful stuff. And I was like, oh,
it's
no,
crazy.
Yeah
It's crazy how much your sleep hygiene can affect so many different aspects of your life. It's crazy. This is why it is really important to I say invest in your like sleeping arrangement, like
that's what the marketers say too. They're like, they know you spend a third of your life or whatever.
Yeah, like some dumb thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, honestly, if you're able to get a sleep study done on yourself, if you're having trouble sleeping, like it's a good idea to look into it, because it does affect a lot of aspects of your health. I learned a lot about like sleep hygiene.
Yeah.
Because after having a kid, like that's such a huge part of like everything, having like a lot of behavioral issues like come from like bad sleep, and like even kids have like a level of sleep apnea sometimes, like that can affect their behavior. So it's like you just gotta be aware.
If you're not well rested, shit can get real bad. So that was my fucked up of the week. Do you have anything this week?
No, I'm just like really fucking tired of being pregnant. It sucks. Really
and you still have a ways to go.
Yeah. I round up, like, so well, honestly, like, due date, schmoo date, like, it's like, I don't.
Also, this one's going to drop right out, right? After you have the first one, it's like, you'll be like, it's here. Like.
Yeah. I don't have that much time in the grand scheme of things, like, only, like probably less than 2 months, like, at this point. It's, I got a lot of shit to do still. I have a lot of anxiety. I am so fucking grouchy. I'm so fucking uncomfortable.
It's hot. It's getting hotter.
Yeah. It's just like, it's all the things. So, but at the same time, I'm like, oh God, it's going to be so fucking crazy when this baby comes. So I don't know. It's just a lot of anticipation, and it's fine. It's good. It's just like, fuck.
Yeah. It's hard when you're like, it's hard waiting that long. Also, you know what to expect this time, which could be better and worse, probably. Like,
that's what
probably both.
It's probably, I think it's a lot of both. It's just like also your hormones just fuck with your brain so bad. And it's just like, I want to be positive and stuff right now, but it's really hard to. When you're just tired all the time, uncomfortable, more uncomfortable than you've ever been in your life.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's just, it sucks, but it's temporary. It'll be replaced by other discomforts very soon, but also lots of fun and stuff and cuteness. Yeah. So
just think like 3 months from now, you won't be pregnant anymore.
I know.
You'll have a baby, a second baby.
Yeah.
And you'll just be loving on the babe. And Jack will be, I was telling my mom, I saw my mom today, and I was just like, oh my gosh, Jack is just the best. Like, just what a sweetheart. Like, when he was like, don't share, come into the pool. And I was just like, is someone calling me?
You guys were so cute.
He is so cute.
Nicole and Pete came over the other day for 4th of July, and we had a pool party. It was just like the cutest.
Small.
It just us. Yeah. It wasn't a party. It was a pool party to Jack. Everything. Where there's more than 2 people in the pool is a pool party. So
more than you and DJ.
Yeah. So he was having the time of his life with you. It was very cute.
It was so cute. He was so fun.
So fun. Yeah. He's a good buddy.
I think I'm going to have him, I'm going to update my name slightly to Don't Share Nicole. So he knows your
actual name.
Yeah. Because
you need to have your own identity. You can't
especially
just be,
I need to have my own identity, and also like especially now that he like is sentient and like knows things, it's like, oh, okay, I should tell him I have like a name so that when he grows up he doesn't think that we swindled him somehow.
Also, like he started preschool the other day, and he's like getting in the groove of that, and he called me teacher the other day. So it's fine.
That's the opposite of what usually happens. Usually kids call the teacher mom by accident and get all embarrassed. I remember doing it, and I was like,
I'm like, who do you like? What do you?
Yeah, teacher.
I'm already like not a real. like thing, a person. I don't know.
And you never will be
whatever.
because you're his mom. You're
Yeah.
only ever going to be his mom.
Yeah.
I was talking with my mom about that today too. Just like,
You're like, I'm sorry.
yeah, I was like, I'm so
Oh.
like, I just found all these little funny things, you know, of my dad's, and I was like, oh man, it's weird because I only ever thought of him as my dad. And she's like, oh, that's so interesting because I thought like you guys had like this fun little relationship, and I was like, no, I was like way closer to you because growing up and stuff, being a teenager, I wasn't sharing anything with my dad. Like,
That
you
is
know,
true. Yeah.
we were close in a way that we were close, but like, you know, did we know each other as people? I don't really think so.
Yeah, I
Like-
feel like yeah, growing up it was like you're closer with your mom in a lot of ways, but like
Yeah.
you do have this like
The bond
like,
is
the bond
tight.
with your dad. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's like I don't know, it's just different. For
Yeah.
me, I would vent to my dad a lot about my mom.
Yeah. Ooh.
So fucking rude. But
Yeah.
like
It's fine.
he was because like me and my mom butted heads like a lot. Like you and your mom probably did. Like
We
just when
didn't.
you're well.
Yeah. I think I'm a rare, not until I got older.
Well, yeah, like much older,
Yeah,
like in
yeah.
your own,
Like now.
you have your own life. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Being a kid and a teenager is bizarre. Yeah.
Yeah, but like what, you know, I feel like I wasn't telling my dad like, ooh, I have a crush on this
Oh,
boy.
God.
And I was 1,000% telling my mom that every day after school. I'd come home and be like, guess who talked to me today or whatever, you know, just like.
Oh, I told neither of my parents any of that. I kept a lot of journals when I was a kid.
Do you still have them?
I think I might have burned them.
That was smart because
Yeah.
I was going to say we could do a podcast about them. I was too self-aware and already deeply embarrassed just keeping a journal. Like I couldn't even, I was so cringe. Like I would start a journal and be like, this is so embarrassing. Like I was so self-aware already.
No, same thing for me. But at the same time, I was like, I need to do something.
You need an outlet.
I
Yeah.
have to get these thoughts out somehow.
Oh my God.
Because I hate everyone and everything, but also I'm very horny. So what do I do here?
Yeah.
You know?
Why? What is this feeling? Someone said it's horny.
I am a Scorpio, and this needs to be spilled out of my body, but literally no one sentient. So
Oh my God. Well, should we just get into this week's topic?
I think so. I don't have a segue, but this. I feel like maybe this is like summer fun. It's summertime. Everybody's like hitting. People are starting to get out and about a little bit, but I feel like we're staying close to home for the most part, or we're traveling to nearby places.
Yeah.
You're getting Airbnbs in other states. You know.
Yeah. Summer, I feel like once you're an adult, you can't really take long summer vacations. Like, and even when I was a kid, we didn't take long summer vacations, but they felt long because you're out of school and, you know, you're doing like summer stuff. But I feel like summer is the time of like weekend jaunts.
Yeah, or because of COVID, like you're able to work remotely.
Yeah, that's true.
And so you can take a little bit of a longer jaunt, or you're like kind of a nomad right now. I don't know. I know people that
we
are.
don't know. I don't know you.
I don't know you, but I do know people who are doing just
We know
such
people.
a thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe you're hitting the beach. Maybe you're hitting the mountains. Maybe you're going to the desert or the lake, wherever.
Yeah.
If you are out and about and you decide you need to go to a lake, I would strongly urge you not to go to this lake that we're about to talk about.
Yeah.
It sounds terrifying. It is
Yeah. Dangerous.
to say the least.
Yep.
Today we're talking about a place called Lake Lanier.
It's a whole vibe and it's not a good one.
It's a bad vibe.
Bad vibe.
Bad vibes. Not only because it is very dangerous, but because it has a very terrible past, which we will talk about. Lake Lanier is located in North Georgia. It's about 60 miles out from Atlanta. It has 600 miles of shoreline.
Wow.
And it's a lot. It's big. It's
That's a big lake.
It's huge. And it borders 5 counties, including Hall, Forsyth, Dawson, Forsyth?
Oh, yeah. Good question.
Forsyth?
Oh,
I
okay.
think that's how people pronounce it. Forsyth.
Okay.
Dawson, Gwinnett, and Lumpkin counties.
Lumpkin.
I know. Too close to Blumpkin. We don't like it.
No, I love that word, though. It's funny.
I know. And this makes it the largest lake in the state of Georgia, actually. If you know anything about this lake, if you've heard of it, you might have heard about it in the news at some point in time in the past few years. And that's because there's been a lot of accidents there. And it sounds extremely dangerous, like we have alluded to. Since the lake's opening, an estimated 675 people have died in the lake, and not all the bodies have been found. So,
I mean, it's a big lake. That, you know.
That happens, yeah.
That happens. But there's we'll talk later about some reasons why.
Yeah.
Also.
It also serves as one of the main filming locations for the show Ozark.
Have you ever watched that?
Yeah, I watched
really?
it. Yeah, it's really good.
Oh.
Jason Bateman is great in it, and Laura Linney.
I've heard it's good. Yeah, I haven't
Fantastic.
watched it.
It's good. It's good. Very stressful. It's like a Breaking Bad-esque kind of show.
Yeah.
So, it's good. If you like that kind of thing. And of course, this lake is named after a Confederate soldier, Sidney Clopton Lanier, of course.
Clopton.
And this little tidbit about it being named after a Confederate soldier makes this lake especially heinous and gross to me, which it'll become clear shortly why.
Didn't he write some song too?
Yeah, I think he was like a poet in the Confederate Army. So
okay.
A poet and song writer, yeah.
Sidney on the wrong side of history, Clopton Lanier.
But yeah, so that's what this lake is named after. So this lake was built in 1956. It is not a naturally formed lake. It was built in 1956 by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. It is a man-made lake that was created to manage navigation and flood control from the Chattahoochee River and to supply water for residents of Atlanta. And I know you're thinking, how does one make a whole ass lake, especially one this big?
Yeah.
Well, you simply flood a valley.
Oh.
And if that seems crazy, it kind of is.
It is. Yeah, it is.
It's not just because it's a feat of human engineering, but also because most of the time before the valley's flooded, there is probably a town or two in that valley that they flood.
Oh, God.
If you've ever seen Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, there is a scene in that movie where the town gets flooded. They're flooding the valley floor.
Oh, on purpose.
On purpose.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's very it makes sense. Okay, if you needed some sort of reservoir or something to exist here for water purposes and stuff, but this lake, was created for structural reasons ish, but also it's just a big ass fun time lake.
Well, it is a reservoir.
Yeah, a reservoir. Yeah.
Any man
to have it.
Yeah, any man-made lake is a reservoir. It's not just for recreation. Most man-made lakes are purely to supply
maintain
water.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
So this is very common in the United States, though. It's not just this one place. It's many reservoirs and lakes, reservoirs/lakes in the U.S. are man-made, and they are all technically, for the most part, flooded valleys that once had small towns in them.
Wow.
For example, the lake that we grew up near, Lake Arrowhead, that is a man-made lake with a whole ass little mining town at the bottom of it. Very creepy.
Okay, yeah, because people had talked about like a train track or something under there, or like some sort of train or like under the lake, and you can't see shit in there. It's a pretty.
Well, our lake that we grew up on, Lake Arrowhead, is one of the deepest man-made lakes
Oh.
in the United States. I think even in the northern hemisphere, it's
It's
like very, very, very deep.
Oh, wow. It's also covered like I feel like I mean I don't know if this is true of all lakes. It probably is, but it's covered in like silt or whatever.
Yeah.
Like a very thick layer. Like and it could be very dangerous if you are like going down and you touch the bottom because it's like all of a sudden it just like clouds up around you and you could get disoriented. It's like pretty scary.
Yeah, it's very they're not safe in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But yeah, at any rate, the valley that was flooded to create Lake Lanier at one point contained several small towns. Dang. And a couple of these towns under Lake Lanier stand out because leading up to the creation of this lake, they had their own terrible history, which we like. The lake itself is creepy, but we have to talk about the history of the valley, the small towns underneath Lake Lanier before we get into the creepiness of the lake itself.
Yeah.
It's all part and parcel. So
yep, it's all connected.
It's all connected. So let's talk about that real quick. So underneath Lake Lanier, one of the first, let's just say one of the counties that I had mentioned before that borders Lake Lanier is Forsyth County. Oh. I don't know why I'm having such a hard time.
I don't know because I want to say Forsyth, but I don't know that that's right.
I don't either.
Yeah.
Well, somebody will correct us.
You're gonna know we're not from Georgia.
Yeah, we're not.
If you didn't already know, we're not peaches.
No.
We're
oranges.
Avocados. No, I don't know.
We're from the orange groves of Southern California.
Yes, we're an orange, not a peach.
Yeah. So, Lake Lanier borders Forsyth County, and obviously, at one point in time, the land beneath the lake was also part of the land was part of Forsyth County as well. And two of the communities that were in that county, Oscarville and Big Creek, which are now underneath the lake. According to the 1910 census, these towns were predominantly black and contained a majority of the county's 1,098 black residents, who comprised about 10% of the population at the time of Forsyth County. Now, this is like a little heavy. We're going to talk about this, so
yeah, it's
got to do it.
It's real fucked up.
It's real fucked up.
Yeah.
In September of 1912, a massive racial conflict erupted after two separate alleged attacks on white women that resulted in black men being accused of being suspects. One white woman accused two black men of breaking into her home in Big Creek and raping her. And then another woman was fatally beaten and raped in the Oscarville community. These two incidents resulted in the lynchings of a black man, Rob Edwards, and two black boys, Oscar Daniel and Ernest Knox. Now, they were not convicted. They were just stood accused.
This happened like within a day, right?
Yeah, there was like just a lot of mayhem, and any excuse for the white residents of these towns to, form a lynch mob and kill black people.
I was going to say an angry mob just took it upon themselves to decide what would happen. Like without any, what are the chances that, especially these two boys who were accused, what are the chances they actually did something to that white woman? Slim to none.
Yeah, that we will never know because these people took it upon themselves before.
But we know.
Yeah.
We know. Yeah. We know white women have been out there crying about bullshit for decades.
Still to this day.
Centuries.
Have used tears to murder black people. So after these lynchings, a bunch of emboldened white vigilantes drove nearly every single black person out of Forsyth County and enforced its borders as whites only well into the 80s. Like the 1980s, not the 1880s, like the 1980s.
Yeah. Dude, I mean, you know, you have sundown towns still, like, in some places of the country. Like, that shit, you know, we live in a city, and a lot of people probably don't live in areas that are, you know, like that. But that shit's, it's lasting in some places.
Yeah, it's alive and well, this, like, Jim Crow shit. This, like, sundown town kind of vibe is still very much a thing. So you can watch video of these racist ass white people that lived in Forsyth County out in these streets on camera in 4K, fucking protesting and saying the N-word constantly, telling black people to get out of their town. They're protesting a 1987 civil rights march.
We got to get that on TikTok and have all these people identified.
Honestly.
It's like, did you see that video of the guy who was like assaulting his neighbors essentially? And then he got arrested a couple days later.
He said his address on video, like, and then he's like, I was drunk. Well, it's like, well, okay.
Yikes.
So
I don't say those things when I'm drunk, so there's still an issue somewhere, sir.
These people.
I was drunk. That's the dumbest fucking excuse.
People still go on video and say horrible racist things and just do not care. And and it's only because they know they won't.
It's the other side of TikTok.
Yeah. They won't. They really do think that they won't get in trouble. And it's like, okay, you're saying all this wild shit. Be prepared for the consequences, and now those consequences are happening. So
that's why it's so yummy when it happens.
Love it. We love a racist getting fucked up,
getting got. Yeah.
So, one of Oprah's very first shows was actually about this 1987 protest that all these racist people were at. In Forsyth County. It was very recent. I mean, this is not like the 1960s. This is not the 1950s or 60s. This is in our time. You know what I mean?
We were already born. Yeah,
we were already born. And to this day, less than 4% of Forsyth County's population is black. So it's a very white place still. Very segregated. And that was all a result of how they drove these people out of town. And just basically took it over. But these two small communities never recovered because of this 1912 racial conflict. It resulted in the forced displacement of pretty much the entire black community. Of Oscarville and the surrounding communities became ghost towns, basically, and never recovered. Ghost towns. Just
also, it's also just, you know, one of the reasons we picked this topic too is that Amber Ruffin just did a really good segment on Lake Lanier and like the history of it, and then also was naming other, like, tons of other lakes. There's so many places in the U.S. that mimic this, where especially black people, like even like Hispanic people and indigenous people have been like driven from their homes. And over time, you know, you do this to enough communities and it starts to eat at, you know, like generational wealth, for example, in Lake Lanier, in the towns that Lake Lanier replaced. These were places where people had settled. They had their own land. They had, you know, property and all this stuff, and were basically forced out. And that happens. I mean, the whole time researching this, I was thinking about like where Dodger Stadium was built and how this was done to a lot of.
It's called Chavez Ravine.
Yeah.
And it was primarily like Hispanic families that like lived all throughout, and they were all forced out like by like this development of.
Right.
I'm a huge Dodger fan. I love Dodgers. But
it's like the stadium, the freeway. It's like everything that's been in that area.
Any kind of like infrastructure like this, there were people that were living in the places where there are huge like that are freeways, lakes, all kinds of things that we just like don't even think about that exist now.
Yeah.
There has been a consequence to the creation of that. So just keep it in mind. I mean, you don't have to like feel like, it
is what it is.
It is what it is, but we have to be aware of this shit.
Yeah, we have to be aware. We have to know that has had lasting effects on, people in the area and the area itself. And it's also good to know because like, yes, they paid these families out, but they did not pay them. It wasn't enough. It's like they came in, they tried to buy their houses. Some people didn't want to sell and they were forced out. Some people were like, okay, yeah, I'll sell. I'll like take this money, and then realized,
they got pennies on the dollar.
They got pennies on the dollar
for their property.
And that property was worth more long term than they received, and then had to go start over essentially. And it's also important to know these things for development now. Mm-hmm. It's like oil pipelines and stuff like that is upsetting. There's a cost to everything, and it's important to know who is it displacing, what is it ruining, what is it taking away, what are the long-term effects of this, because it could be big, and it could be, it's a lot of times it's to communities that have already been marginalized for a long time, and they're kind of steamrolled in a lot of situations. So it's just fucked up. Good to be aware.
It's good to be aware, and like
it's part of our history.
It's part of our history, our real history. And this is like the foundation of our country. In a lot of ways, it's like spurred a lot of progress, but you gotta be aware that it has harmed a lot of people and land, in the process, because this area, this valley that was flooded, where Oscarville and these surrounding communities were, it was primarily farmland. And the people, like the Black people that lived there, had come basically straight from descendants of slavery and had made their own way, and like were farmers and were successfully farming the land and making a good living for themselves, and had a full community, and having that happen to them was devastating, and is part of the story of the Great Migration of Black people to northern states. So if you don't know about any of this, I have some book recommendations for you at the end.
Oh, we'll put them in the notes too.
Yep.
In the episode notes.
At any rate, even after the heinousness of all these people being displaced and the majority of the valley subsequently becoming a ghost town because of the forced displacement, when the Army Corps of Engineers came in and mapped out the area for the lake a couple decades later, literally like this happened like all throughout the beginning of like 1912 on through that decade, people were leaving. I mean, it happened pretty suddenly, like within the few, like a year or two. Yeah. All the Black people in Forsyth County just were like getting the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
All these white people are trying to literally kill us.
Yeah.
The Army Corps of Engineers mapped out the area for the lake decades later. Not that long after, but pretty soon. Even after all this happened, the construction still displaced more than 250 families, 15 businesses, and relocated 20 cemeteries along with their corpses in the process.
Oh my goodness.
It's like a lot. It's a lot of fucking land. This is a huge lake. An entire fucking valley. So all these cemeteries that are within this valley, you have the regular marked graves that are within the like boundaries of these like known cemeteries, but there's also a shit ton of unmarked graves that either, you know, people were too poor to be buried within cemeteries, or, you know, they weren't allowed to be buried in the cemeteries.
Yeah.
Or they're, you know, they're buried on their property. Like a lot of people were just buried on their property. So there's like a lot of unmarked graves that just were never, the corpses were never recovered and moved. So yeah, not only did they disturb a bunch of cemeteries, they still didn't get all the bodies because of all the unmarked graves. So it's just God. It's so gruesome.
It's so, yeah, it's just like, really, did it have to be here? And also, like, could you not figure out a better way? I mean, maybe they couldn't, you know. It makes sense that you would look at the land and be like, okay, this will be the easiest, you know, like we already have this natural valley that exists that we can fill with water, and like it'll act as a reservoir, whatever.
And it's not that populated. Well, it's not that populated because of white terrorists driving out all the black people. So, so this is the crux of it. This is how they decided to just like fill up that valley with water. So,
and now tons of people use it. I mean, like I read something today that like in current day now, right now, as many people visit the Louvre every year as visit this lake. So it's you know, millions of people, tens of millions of people are coming here each year. It's a huge lake. They're doing fun activities, maybe having family reunions, blah, 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 whatever.
There's camps on it.
There's camps. You know, it looks like, beautiful. Like
it's gorgeous.
It's huge. And
it's massive. Yeah.
And you could boat and do all these recreational things. But it's also a place where there is an awful amount of accidents.
Yeah.
Like an egregious amount also.
It's literally like a horror movie. It's like, you know how like Jason was at the bottom of the fucking lake in Friday the 13th. This is that, like times 1,000.
Oh God. Yeah, it is. So just searching for this place, like when we were doing research, a bunch of news articles came up, like recent news articles published like in the last few hours or whatever, about incidents on this lake.
We just had 4th of July.
It's BUIs, boating under the influence, boat explosions, like crashes and explosions, tubing incidents, drownings,
Jesus.
like. And yeah, people were, 4th of July, people are fucking shit up. But I also feel like if you look for this lake, like if you look into this lake at any time during the year, there's probably an incident. And there's more attention put on it because of what we're going to talk about.
Yeah. And just so you know, when you do Google Lake Lanier, you're probably not going to see a lot of articles about the racist history of it, like we just talked about.
Yeah.
You're just going to see a lot of goofy articles about like how it's haunted and it's like creepy and like, you know, like shit like that. And you know what? Honestly, if any fucking lake is haunted, it is this one.
Yeah. If any lake should be haunted, it's this one.
Yeah. Yeah, this it's pretty well documented that this place is very dangerous.
Yeah. I mean, I think like just in the last 30 years, there's been over 200 deaths. And in the last, since it was created, like you said, it's been like close to 700 estimated. And one explanation that experts have offered is that this lake has hella debris. Like it is, like we were talking about, you know, even the lake we grew up around, like there's just like junk on the bottom of it. There's so much junk. And that's what happened with this. Like they tried to like tear down trees and buildings and things that would eventually kind of decompose and float, because that would be problematic in the lake. Like it'd be gross because there's just like a bunch of like wood and shit, but also, you know, they needed
You can only do so much.
You can only do so much. Yeah, like there's still maybe trees and shit. And so there's still like a lot of rubble down there, even though they were able to clear buildings. And, you know, there's a lot of rumors about what's still down there, but they've all kind of been like people thought, oh, there's a church still down there and like we can see the steeple. And it's like, no, they had to knock all that shit down. Like they couldn't just leave a tall ass steeple in this lake.
Yeah, because like the force of the water would also probably knock it over too.
Yeah, like knock chunks off and stuff.
Yeah, like flooding the valley the force of it would knock a lot of shit over anyway too.
Yeah. And so even though there isn't like full buildings under there, there is still a lot of debris from when they initially flooded it, and it has made like looking underwater when there is an incident or like trying to recover property like someone's boat or whatever, it's made it very hard. Manhunts and boat recoveries are very tricky, and most of the boats that have sunk are just still down there. Like it's so dark and like with so much debris down there, it's just they just can't.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. They would have had to clear cut this entire, even
area.
without all the buildings being, torn demolished.
Down. Yeah,
they would have had to clear cut this entire valley, which I think is almost impossible. Like you can cut a lot of trees down, but you're not going to get it's like hard to like explain how much volume of shit is down there, like that they just couldn't get to before they flooded it.
Yeah, and it's also like I would assume people thought, oh well, the trees will just die anyway or whatever, and it's like, well, yeah, but then they'll just be like floating around and creating silt, and like, you know, I feel like it could be a problem.
Yeah.
There is though one thing that they left intact. Like there are things that are intact, like roads and stuff. They didn't like tear up the asphalt. And or you know, but there is a racetrack that remained under there, and in 2007 there was a drought, and you could actually see like they removed the metal like what are they called, bleachers.
Yeah.
They removed the metal bleachers in case they like rusted and came apart or whatever. But there's concrete bleachers. And in 2007, when there was a drought, the water got so low, you could see the concrete bleachers because they're fucking high as shit. It's a racetrack.
Yeah. It's creepy.
And they're just like sticking out of the lake.
I remember when we had a drought in Lake Arrowhead when like really, really bad for like years. One of the bays like completely like emptied out,
dried up.
Dried up, and there was like wagon wheels and shit like that people were finding. So
my god,
it's crazy. They try to get all the shit that they can out from there, but there's just some stuff that they had to leave behind before they flooded it. Like it's just impossible. So
wagon wheels.
Fucking wagon wheels.
Oh my gosh. Well, it makes sense that this would be dangerous because, like, you could get caught on this stuff. Like, you know, like, even in 2007 when the bleachers were kind of showing, it's like, well, if that's kind of popping up, what else is kind of, you know, coming up from the ground and maybe could be an issue for someone? And
fucking coffins.
Coffins, dude. Just, like, people's just gravestones floating by. Like, who knows? And you know, people have reported that who have been like in boating incidents or whatever, that they like felt they hit something. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, well, yeah, there's like a bunch of shit in the water. And then the second explanation of why there's so many accidents is that the lake is haunted. And like Erin said, you know, if there's any place that's going to be haunted, it's a place like this where all this fuck shit went down first, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, okay, I would get it.
I get it.
I get it. Like boaters will explain, like I was just saying, like, oh, like hitting something. But the people who believe it's haunted will be like, no, I like felt something. It was right here. And then like people will come out to inspect the scene and you know, searchers will come out and they can't find anything. And so they're like, you hit something. It's like, yeah, we fully hit something. And then there's like nothing there. Maybe it floats away.
I think I think a lot of these man-made lakes that are deep and have debris
Yeah.
have like crazy currents too, like weird currents. So that's
How does
something.
that happen?
It's just like the terrain underneath the water.
Oh,
Like
creating because like
creating
the
elevation of the valley, like, creates different, like,
and the temperatures like
yeah,
create currents. Yeah.
yeah,
Oh wow, that makes sense. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. The terrain is so like random,
yeah.
probably. Well, also, a lot of the drownings that have occurred in this lake, in a lot of this is not from any scientific source, obviously. Like this is all
It's
from
anecdotally.
it's
Yeah.
anecdotal. So please don't this is not a real measurement, but people who have like survived drowning have reported a feeling of being pulled under, which is why they think it's haunted. And again, that could be a current, that could be some sort of object
Literally,
that they catch themselves on.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's scary. That's really scary. It doesn't
is.
matter. Honestly,
No, it doesn't matter. It's still scary. The conditions of this lake, whether it's haunted or not, are not conditions for swimming or people. A living people. This should not, like, I would not go in there.
No, I wouldn't either. It's creepy as fuck, and there have been so many incidents, and like a lot of them occur like in the calmer, quote unquote shallower areas of the lake too.
Yeah.
Which is, that's what you get. You're not on guard, in a lot of those like circumstances. So.
But then it makes sense because it's like they did not do a good job of clearing out this area. So your foot gets stuck in a fucking bush or something. It's like this was someone's bush in their front yard or something. And then it's like you're just stuck in it. It's fucked up.
Yeah.
So, okay. So on the topic of hauntings for people who love a good haunt, there is potentially a ghost in this lake. They refer to her as the Lady of the Lake. And as the story goes, these incidents are real, but of course, people reporting that they see this woman, you take it or leave it. Mm-hmm. So in April of 1958, Delia, Delia Mae Parker Young was riding with her friend Susie Roberts in her 1954 Ford, and they were going across the Lanier Bridge when for some reason she lost control of the car, put on the brakes, skidded across it, plunged into the lake. Immediately divers are on the scene, but this lake, this was the 50s, and I'm sure they didn't have that great of resources. It was nighttime, they could not see very much.
This was a new lake too.
And it was new. Yeah.
Because it had just been flooded like a couple years before.
Yeah.
Created a couple years before.
They probably didn't have a good idea of what was going on in there.
Yeah.
And so divers searched the area. They couldn't find any vehicles, any evidence that they were there except for the skid marks that were on the bridge.
Oh my God. Awful.
Yeah. So awful. And then a year later, a fisherman discovered human remains that had floated to the surface of the lake, a woman's body. They weren't able to identify how the woman passed. And they weren't able to identify the woman in general, but they assumed it was Delia or Susie. Like people just in town were like, it had to have been one of these women. And they didn't have the technology at the time to identify remains. It would have been really hard. With
they didn't have the
science.
ability to test DNA. So
exactly. Yeah. And they maybe, if they had a criminal record, maybe they could have found fingerprints, but the body didn't have any hands and it was also missing some toes.
Yeah, it's badly decomposed a year later.
It was decomposed. Probably some fish, maybe snacked.
Fish ate it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so years later, in November of 1990, construction started on a new bridge, which required dredging the lake, which is so gross. I know that has to happen, but that is not a job I want.
Yeah.
I don't want to disrupt anything, especially this lake. I don't want to find what's down there.
No.
That's certain.
Ugh.
And so they unexpectedly, like, no, you know, it's decades later, they found Susie Roberts Ford when they were dredging the lake, and they found a human body behind the wheel. They found remains behind the wheel.
Oh my God. Awful.
Yeah. The car was found hidden under 90 plus feet of water, and it had come, I know, it had come to rest on a steep slope, like some fucking hill that used to just be a hill people hiked on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was stuck within tree trunks, mud, and other debris. Like it had like gone into the water, driven down a hill, and got wedged in some like trees.
Yeah.
Underwater.
Yeah.
It's wild. And so they recovered the car. They found a purse, rings, and a watch. They all belonged to Susie. So they put 2 and 2 together. They were like, okay, the woman driving was Susie. Also, it was her car. And then that led authorities and just people in the area to assume that the body that was found in 1959 was most likely Delia Mae Parker Young. So now we get to the ghost part. So these 2 women died in a very sad way and just like have been quote unquote haunting the lake since they passed. And people have reported seeing a young woman in a blue dress walking up and down the length of the Lanier Bridge. Ew. And it's assumed that it's Delia Mae Parker Young because I think of what she was wearing like when she went missing, but also sometimes they see the woman has no hands. Which, how does that, this is what always gets me about ghosts.
It's people making the story creepier. That's all.
Yeah. Because I'm like, well, she had hands when she died, presumably. So why would she not have hands as a ghost? I don't know.
People are trying to make it creepier.
Yeah. I get it. Anyway, that's like the main haunting story. I didn't honestly find that much in terms of other ghosts. Like people say they see ghosts of like a super old fisherman or like a guy that drove trains or whatever. Like there's, you know, some randoms, and people just think it's generally haunted. But there was a high profile
This is so
death.
sad. Oh.
This is so sad. And I remember this happening. Probably the most high profile incident to happen on Lake Lanier and like in recent times was the death of Usher's stepson, Kyle Glover, who was in an accident. He was like on a tube. They were tubing behind a boat, like where you pull an inner tube. This was in 2012, and someone on a jet ski crashed into them.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And I don't know who was at fault. But the guy, the guy was found guilty of manslaughter, I believe, and some other shit, recklessness and all this other stuff. And he was found guilty and he spent 4 years in prison. Oof. So yeah, but it was very high profile. I remember at the time, like it was so sad. Just a young boy.
It was Usher's first wife, right?
Yeah. Usher's first wife's son. So Usher's stepson. Yeah. And he was like, I think he was like 10 or 12. He was young. And yeah, it was really sad. It was really sad. Yeah. So yeah, fucking a lot. That lake has had a lot of accidents, and lakes do have a lot of accidents. Like when, like even just
listen, like, I've been in a boat accident. On our lake, our small little lake where and it's a private lake. So there's not that many people on it because there can't be because it's small.
Yep.
But I was in a really bad boat accident. I have a lot of fucking PTSD because of that shit. And it is very scary.
Your whole family was in it.
Yeah, my whole family. I could have died. I was thrown out of the boat. Like it was bad. And the guy's boat kept going around the lake because he got thrown out of his boat too. It ran over another boat. It could have killed people. Like it was
multiple people.
Yeah, it was really bad. It was really, really bad. So
oh my God.
I'm like anytime like when you're in a boat, when you're drinking, when you're out, you know, and especially like on a big lake where it's just like you can't, anything kind of goes, and you have, you know, because our lake has a lot of rules, and you can't have jet skis, you can't, you know, you have to
all the boats have to be a certain size.
All the boats have to be a certain size. You can only go in one direction around the lake. You can't cut across it. You can't just do whatever you want. But on big lakes like this, it's kind of just like you fucking balls out. Like I've been to Lake Havasu before, and that shit, people die like on holiday weekends. At least 3 people die a day. It's like that's because just crazy.
People just go balls to the walls, and it's like you're still in a vehicle that needs to be operated. Like everybody's drinking, it's like everybody's out on the lake, they're drinking all day, and they think that they're fine because it's not a car. And it's like, no, you're still operating a vehicle, and you could fucking kill people. Like
I feel like people don't understand physics on water. When they're like, even when they're sober. So you know.
Yeah. Driving a boat, it's hard. Parking a boat in a slip, it's hard. Like it all requires you to be.
It's a different skill set, and you have
in
to
your
use
mind
all of your senses when you're out there, and you have to be really with it. So it's lakes.
Excuse me.
Ooh, bless you.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is a very dangerous lake. It does not help that it has extremely bad vibes.
The worst vibes. This lake, top 10 lakes of the worst vibes, number 1, Lake Lanier.
I mean, I truly believe it is cursed, haunted, saturated in bad energy, all of the things because of its terrible, deep-rooted racism, evil history, all the bad, horrible things that have happened there. Mm-hmm. And then now you have like compounding factors of now that once it became a lake, pretty much immediately somebody died. Going into the
2
water.
Women died.
Two women died. And
they just kept dying.
And then more and more people just kept getting into accidents, drowning, whatever, on this lake. And so if somebody was like, hey, do you want to go on vacation to Lake Lanier? I would say, no, I do not. I would not like to go there. Thank you very much.
I would go, but I would just stay in the lake house the whole time that overlooked the lake and just like drink coffee and like journal and like I would just stay off the water.
100%. Yeah.
Because I don't want to fuck with that.
And any body of water is dangerous, period.
Yeah.
Even if it doesn't have this history or the extenuating circumstances that this lake does, still.
But like, I'm not a gambler. So I think I'll just sit this one out.
Yeah.
And also there's so many other lakes that you could go to that don't have this high of incidents, Like you don't need to go to 100%. This one. Also, like, why haven't they figured it out? Do they not have like engineers and economists and like people who are like studying this lake to be like, hey, maybe we should like.
Don't go in the water, people.
Don't go in there. Yeah. Maybe we should.
That's the thing. Even in the ocean. In the ocean, you have times where the lifeguards tell everybody, do not go in the water.
Or they say, get out. The tide's too strong. You got to get out.
There's a rip tide. Everybody out of the water. Yeah. You're going to die, basically. You will get dragged out to sea.
Yep. No, thank you.
And there's none of that at this lake. There is just like, it seems like there's no safety. I mean, I don't know what's happening, but it just seems unnecessarily dangerous. And knowing the history of it and all the deaths that have happened there, it's a big no for me, dog.
There's not a single sign at that lake that says you should wait 30 minutes after eating your picnic to swim. It's like, why wait even 1 minute? Get in now. And you're like, what? No, this is a bad place.
Even the the signs on pools, like if you have had diarrhea in the past 24 hours, you're not permitted to swim.
Yeah.
They're like, do you currently have diarrhea? Come in the water.
Like, do you want a diarrhea in here? This lake's big enough. No one's going to know.
It's perfect for it. Let's do it.
Oh my God. I hate it so much.
I do too.
It is, and it's hard. I mean, obviously we're teasing, like, people I'm sure enjoy it safely and whatever, but like, I wouldn't want to, like, oh God.
It took me a long time just to go in our lake when we first moved up there to like go in Lake Arrowhead because it's so deep and dark.
I still feel like I'd actually rather go in the middle of the entire lake because it's deep and I know there's no lake kelp that shit will wrap around your ankles and pull you down. And it's high. I remember like a couple summers where it was so high. It was like almost to the top of the water and I didn't like the sliminess. So I would not get in there. I was like, I'm not getting in.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want to die in a fucking lake kelp pile.
Ugh, I know.
Oh, no, thank you.
I hate it. I hate it.
Yeah.
Lakes are scary. Any body of water is scary, but particularly this one.
This one, because it has some.
Lake Lanier is fucked up.
Yeah.
And it is very important to be safe on the water, but it is also very important to understand the history, the real history of the lands we live on, the places we enjoy, the institutions we hold in high regard, the traditions we partake in, the laws we uphold, and the legacies of people in high places. Because if we don't learn, at the very least, we'll just be ignorant. And at the most, we're doomed to repeat awful history. Ugh. So just learn about it. Just learn about it. And if you do want to learn more about the history of Lake Lanier, like the 1912 incident of Forsyth County, the book Blood at the Root, A Racial Cleansing in America by Patrick Phillips goes into detail about the incidents that happened in 1912.
Wow.
And he really gets into it. It's based on archival research, and he does interviews with townspeople and descendants of the Black people who fled in 1912. Wow. So it's like very thoroughly researched, very interesting. There was also a 2006 PBS documentary about the communities throughout the U.S. that were, this is not just an isolated incident. This is happening all over the United States, by the way.
A lot of lakes.
Yeah, a lot of lakes, but also a lot of forced people who are violently forced out of their homes.
Yep.
African American families that had to flee in post-Reconstruction America.
Like fucking Black Wall Street and shit.
Yeah, Tulsa. And it's good to learn about. And one of the number one books I can recommend for just learning about the Great Migration. Read The Warmth of Other Suns by Isabella Wilkerson. Very, very, very beautiful book. And it's big, it's thick, but you'll learn all about just the circumstances and stories of people who had to leave their homes because of this fuck shit.
Oh, is Isabella Wilkerson the person who wrote the Cast book too?
I think so.
Yeah. Okay. I'm still reading that.
Yeah.
I'm still reading very large.
Yeah. It's intense.
And they're dense and heavy. Like it's, you know.
I would say The Warmth of Other Suns, though, it's like it's written in like with prose, like like writing about people's stories. That is really, it's easy to read. It's like they're like stories of individual people and stuff. So it's really good.
You know what? Just balance it out. You just balance it out. You learn this stuff. It's heavy. Then you watch a little Too Hot to Handle. You get your trash fix for the night. That's what I do.
Yeah. I know. I was like reading about all this shit. And I will say it was very hard to research this because it was so piecemeal. Yeah. All the facts about the 1912 incident and how it factored into the formation of this lake. Yeah. Trying to like form a narrative and like parse out the details that were, because there is a lot to the story. Yeah. Did a very cursory kind of background on it, but still just, you know. Yeah. This is why it's important. We have to learn about it.
Yep. Ugh. Well, somewhere I'll never go.
No. No, thank you.
No, thanks. Oh, yeah. Bad vibes only.
Yeah.
All right.
But that's all I got.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for listening. Follow us on social media everywhere at DTFU Podcast.
All the places.
All the places. Go to our website, dtfupodcast.com. All kinds of fun stuff on there.
We have a Patreon if you want extra content. It is patreon.com/DTFU podcast. Check it out.
Do it. And
all right.
I think that's it. All right, you guys. Thank you so much. And hey, be excellent to yourselves
and each other.
Bye-bye.
Bye.